Hey everybody, Joseph Rothschild here, aka, and we are back with another Twitter thread. Today we're talking about load-bearing cards. Cards that I think we can all agree are kind of broken and show up at almost 100% consistency in certain formats. Cards that, despite the fact that they are universally played, universally despised when they are being played against you, nevertheless probably can't ever be banned. You may know these cards are broken, but deep down you want a cold-hearted hand trap to negate Fuwalos, beat Called by the Grave, and rule you like a king. I'm beginning with Ash Blossom and Joy Spring. I think this card is really important right now. Ash Blossom and Joy Spring has been played at 3, usually in the main, often in the side, in literally every format since it's been printed. There have been 2 exceptions to over half a decade of dominance. Its literal first printing, in which it was only okay versus Zodiac, but still mandatory against a lot of true Draco builds, and that weird tier limit month where we were just playing all extenders. These days, it's important not only to stop your opponent from comboing off, but also to beat back against the 2 Max C replacements we have in the TCG, Multi-Charmies Perulia and Fuwalos. Were this card banned, those cards would run rampant, ending the turn for anyone unlucky enough to not be gripping the one of Called by the Grave. So, let's see what you all came up with. Ava's got an early entry for hottest take, Multi-Charmies Perulia and Fuwalos, the cards that I think Ash is protecting us from. She stands firmly upon their side. Recent additions to the game, but Yu-Gi-Oh! Has evolved for the better with the introduction of the Multi-Charmies, especially Fuwalos. Unlike Maxi, which was broken but unnecessarily powerful, the Multi-Charmies are some of Yu-Gi-Oh!'s best going second tools ever printed. Strategies are incentivized to have thought-out lines to both Charmies, and decks and engines that aren't multi-efficient lose a significant competitive edge. They'll continue to be important cards for years to come and carry a heavy weight in our game now. You know, it's hard to really tell the truth of this. Are the decks that lose to Multi-Charming Perulia and Fuwalos less good because they lose to them, or do they often just try to roll the dice on their opponent not having them at a time that they don't have Ash? Regardless, these have changed the game, and removing them would put us in a position where some individuals are making the terrible call that Shpee is making right over there, where they want Maxi back. What is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What is he talking about? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh. I got it. I think there's an argument that Nibiru is load-bearing. It did change the game in the same way that Ava's talking about Perulia and Fuwalos, in which people were labbing out lines to beat Nibiru, and do so to this day. But sometimes there are some formats where decks just get to breeze through it, and you think to yourself, man, this load-bearing card needs to bear a bigger load. Like, I'm just giving these to you now. I'm just handing them to you. Spence has a great one. Gotta go with the Kaijus. Without them, you genuinely enable unoutable towers. Not only do Kaijus ensure everything is beatable, they keep dump your entire combo into a single big asshole gameplay down, and unlike White Woman or Sphere Mode, everyone can use them. I think White Woman is an honorary kaiju, but it is quite frequent that I think to myself, there is a deck that conceivably could just make towers and pass for 40 turns that no one is playing it out to, but if it became even remotely relevant, would be hated out of the format so instantaneously, it is not worth trying to live through the first cycle. The existence of these cards, even if they are not being played, does a real psychic toll to people trying to play Towers Turbo, one of the least fun styles of decks in the game. Master Duel answer. Back when the game was first released, it was some of the worst Yu-Gi-Oh! Imaginable. VFD, full-powered Drytron, FTKs, Maxi. But there was one deck floating around where you actually got to play Yu-Gi-Oh! If you came up against it. And without it, Master Duel might have not survived. So very frustrating that Master Duel released in the state that it did. Not because the actual game wasn't slick. It was awesome. But the format was one of the worst that it has been ever, with a singular exception, this very slightly overtuned deck in Tri-Brigade. This deck, which, despite how you feel about it, played Yu-Gi-Oh!, was enough to satiate people until they could eventually ban all of that bullshit. In an echo to your answer, I'd say Called by. I want to agree with you. I understand what you're saying, but I think hand traps should resolve. If you identify hand traps as necessary to prevent people from comboing to the moon, you can't then print cards that are like, though I have a 20% chance to just win the game if I open this. I think this card needs to go, Crossout needs to go, the last remaining Gamma needs to go, and then I think we better just be slinging Charmies at each other until the end of time. Triple Tactics Talent is the kind of hand trap counterplay I really like. It does not stop the hand trap. If you get got on a choke point, you are still getting got. But Talent makes it hurt a little less. You can try to draw into extenders, you can try to brick your opponent, or if you're going second, you can try to win the game. Extremely skill testing card, not always playable, but its existence does make people play differently, and differently in a way that's interesting instead of just being like negate, 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 negate. Spectre has only been around for 6 minutes, but by golly, it's already changed the way the game is played with its wonderful effect and its winning smile. Thanks so much, GCD. I could not agree more. I've only known Spectre for 6 minutes, but if anything happens to him, I'm killing everyone in this thread and myself. Sorry for the Rush Duel answer. Oh, Mogul, I will take Rush Duel answers. I love my little glimpses into the world of Rush Duel that you people give me. Is it better over there? Can we have it? The current game flow of Rush revolves so much around the battle phase that guaranteeing your survival through it is important. Each of the cards below are one-ofs that, if we were lacking, would turn the entire game into a massive OTK sackfest. Negate attack, buffered slime, and widespread ruin. Zeus is actually a fantastic answer. It's so strange. I know people go through phases of being frustrated at Zeus, but I don't think I've ever been mad this guy existed. Like, from the get, it was like, oh, this is one of the greatest catch-up cards ever printed, and in my estimation, it's never felt oppressively powerful. It is nice that he sends everything to the field. It's cool that he can beat individual targeted negation by going twice. I really like him. I think he's great. Typhon is also fine, but unfortunately, often his text just reads lose the game. As a retro one, this is a nice answer. Gores. This card has traumatized the player base so effectively that players still declare their attacks lowest to highest to get around the devastating token effect. Not necessary now, but its psychological impact has shaped the way that we play. I think Gores is so absolutely necessary to the continued success of the alt formats in which he is legal, most importantly Edison. There are so many mechanisms by which you could just blow up all the back row in OTK, but this guy living, alongside his partner in crime, Tragoedia, and their little stepchildren, Battle Fader, does a pretty good job of keeping people from ever getting too invested in Disaster Dragon or whatever. The card that just randomly ends the game is so irritating so often, but cleans up so many board states that would otherwise be innavigable, gets so big that it can beat over a bunch of unaffected guys. New unaffected guy has 4,600 attack. This is the only card that gets over him, and he cleans up extra decks like nobody's business, usually being like 4 or 5 slots worth of removal. He is definitely a more bannable card than Zeus, and people have called for his ban since his print, I will admit, but I think he has earned it. I think he is there. I'd say Imperm is by far the most needed of the symphony of discard this card to negate the effects of target monster. Unlike Valor, it can be used going second to force interaction. Most importantly, it doesn't trigger the triple tactics duo. This card probably has earned its slot. As we shave down on individual single target hand traps for stuff like the Fualasas, the Perulias, the Shifters, the Nibirus, it's crazy to see that Ash is being played because of a bunch of different implications, and Imperm is being played because it's damn good. Imperm the duo drive, man, still strong as hell. I think you might be right. I will admit, this is a very contentious answer. A lot of people are calling for Unicorn's Head as we speak, but these guys, as a pretty good engine in almost anything that you can jam through basically any hand trap or any point of interaction, have done a lot of good for people who are looking to interact minimally with their opponent. Now, I will be the first to admit, the Unicorn extra deck rip is fucking annoying as hell. I'll be real with that. That sucks ass. If it didn't have that, it wouldn't even be a conversation. But I'm willing to overlook it for the amount of good I think they do in getting duelists to play lower to the ground. I can't look at a deck like Kashtira Fiendsmith being playable and not think, damn, that's neat. All in all, it is hilarious that people tout the play rate of a card like Maxi and Master Duel every month when there's dozens of cards with comparable play rates in the TCG at present. We just know that these have consequences if you remove them from the format. Although maybe it's time someone saw what would happen if you remove all of these linchpins from the game. Editor, please add Shifter to the video. Dyer, keep Shifter out of this fucking video.